Yeah.
So, but it was much more helpful than just me carrying him.
Okay.
Back up.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's some commitment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. A few times he was like, absolutely not.
Sure.
Like, I'm not doing this, and I was like, I got there early to
Perfect.
do it,
Yep.
it just took us longer than.
Yes, and that's typical.
Okay.
So things like when I forgot my coffee. Yeah, like so when you have like a target area, like when you're going to a place, like let's say a dog park,
Yeah.
groomer, pet store, or anything like that, because there's like a point A to point B, getting to B, especially if the dog knows it, is difficult, right? And in the beginning, yes, it takes longer, but they're perfect opportunities for the owner, because now you have controlled context, right?
Yeah.
So typically when I work with dogs, when we did our first leash walking session, it was a little bit different because you were like sitting on the side, and I was just like using what I had here.
Yeah.
But typically the owner will be standing at the end of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm going away from the owner, and then returning, on the return the dog tends to forage, because they're trying to get back to the owner, right? So it's that same kind of idea, except for you know, he's with you, but you're going somewhere, right? Is in the beginning, yeah, it took you 20 minutes, but the next time it should only take you 10, and then 5.
I mean, once he realized that like he wasn't gonna get out of it, like, and I was just gonna keep pressing it until he like moved.
Correct.
He was like, okay, fine. And then he would get like 2 steps, and he'd try and turn around, and I would do it again.
Sure.
And then he'd protest.
Sure.
And like a few times he did like, he was able to like push back further. So.
Sure.
Because I wasn't like as on top of it, and like, the leash got loose. Yeah.
How is the contact better now that he's groomed?
Yeah. So I've noticed that it doesn't need to be as
snug.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, no, it's still the same snugness.
Okay.
I still have it on the same, but he's reacting like faster.
Okay.
Like
Good.
I'm not having to like readjust.
Sure. Yeah. Excellent. So leash walking is going well.
Yeah.
How about the play stuff indoors?
The place. That's good.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So from what I remember, it was the reactivity, right? Possessiveness over you.
Yeah. And it's like like dogs, if they're like in our home or like if we're at their house and we're all like hanging out, he can't just like sit like this. If the dog comes up, he's gonna like go after them.
Okay.
And it's not just like one snap. Like if it was one snap, I'd be like, okay, he's just telling them to go away. It's like a full lunge, and he'll hold on, and like I'll have to like put my fingers in his mouth and like push the other dog. Like
he'll like grasp.
Oh, he dragged this puppy, and I was like,
this little guy, really?
Yeah, he dragged a little black lab, and now she is petrified of him.
Sure.
Like she is so scared of him, and she is the sweetest little lab.
Okay.
Yeah, you're mean.
Alrighty, so I guess let's go and target that today, huh?
Okay.
Let me think here. Who do I have? I think we can use Mason. Okay, let me go have my one of my employees bring him out.
Okay.
And we'll work on that whole spiel there.
His little anger. Yeah, you grump boy.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna go get them ready.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do here is correcting the reactivity or the aggressive response is pretty simple, and addressing any kind of behavior you don't ever want to see again is really simple.
Okay.
The difficult part is the building a friendship, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Comfort. So realistically speaking, I don't expect any dog to like every dog.
Yeah.
You know, it's not with humans, like, not everybody I like, not everybody that I meet that I like, I'm sure not everybody that meets me likes me.
Yeah.
So what I care about is coexistence at minimum.
Yeah.
So if I have a dog that's more reactive, you know, with just dogs in passing or whatever, you know, I just want the dog to be able to go out in public, not become reactive, be able to pass by dogs and have dogs pass by them,
Yeah.
and not be a jerk. At minimum. And then when it comes to socializing, realistically, like let's say it's a friend's dog that, you know, Pip would see on a recurring basis, that's more realistic.
Yeah.
Because it's consistent.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, oh, I go to the dog park and I expect the dog to like everybody.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. Some dogs are capable of it, others not so much. So then when it comes to if you have a friend or family who's gonna bring a dog over, and maybe it's a rough start with Pippen, that dog,
Yeah.
I have an exercise that you can do to help create a potential like friend for him. Okay, what we're going to work on today is one, seeing what the discipline is done.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say obedience, but the obedience I really don't care about other than the control factor.
Yeah.
It's really the discipline behind it. All the remoting that you've been doing, all the protesting that he's been giving you, and the fact that you're like, nope, like we're not going to let this slide.
Yeah.
That's actually the stuff that affects his behavior. Okay, so today we're going to see and test some boundaries, see how much progress he's made. We'll correct anything that pops up, and then I'll show you how to, in a real simple context, introduce dogs. Typically, people introduce them by like, let my dog sniff your dog, and the face-to-face is the worst way for dogs to greet. Yeah. Because for us, it's normal. We handshake, hi, how are you? Yeah. For dogs, they do nose to butt. Oh, okay. Okay. So it's like yin yang, right? Yeah. So when dogs are socializing, they're not meant to meet face to face, but because we're walking our dog, that's typically how it works out. Yeah. And I've seen perfectly friendly dogs. I actually had this happen during a client session where I was talking to a client, and two people were like, "Oh, like can my dog meet your dog?" They're like, "Yeah, my dog's friendly," and within seconds it was a dog fight. Yeah. You know, and they're like, "Oh my god."
That's like how it used. Well, like sometimes it is on the street, but this week I would like stop and talk to neighbors and he just like stares at me the whole time when he has this collar on, and I haven't said heel or anything. We're just like stopped and talked. Sure. And dogs will come by and he'll just keep looking at me like, okay, sure. I'm not gonna do anything. Please don't buzz me like this. This is what he's been doing. Yeah. And like there's a dog in the neighborhood that he normally would get a little snippy with, and like the dog walked by and smelled him, and he just continued to look at me, and I was like, this is great. Perfect. This collar, like he's not ready to do like the whole like break, do whatever you want when he has this collar on, but I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, that
it's fine as long as he's like still like hooked to me. Like he knows when he goes out first with it, he'll go potty, and then like we start walking and he's like instantly like attached.
Good.
Making eye contact.
Good. And it's very good that you think that way, because in my book, behavior supersedes obedience, always. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. So, going to the, when that dog came up there, like, you know, he just like behaved himself, right? All that stuff is really good. The caution with not wanting to release is also a problem. Yeah. But it's a good problem in the sense that now he's thinking twice about things, right? And that's the stuff that I care about, because that's the stuff that affects his behavior. Yeah. Okay. Because people a lot of times will go like, Jesse, my dog won't like release, and like I want my dog to have freedom. I'm like, I understand that, but your dog also has all these
I think he's also getting like more comfortable with it, and then like, eventually he'll know that.
Correct. Yeah. And if you want to help him kind of define the break command more quickly, what you can do is I'll make, like, let's say if you go to the lakefront, like let's say it's a nice day, and you go up the trail, and I go heel, and I'll walk like a few steps, and I'll stop, and I'll release. Yeah. I'll wait a little bit, dog does nothing, heel, a few steps, stop, release, and I'll literally make a walk of heel, break,
Yeah.
break, like just countless times.
Yeah.
So eventually the dog's like, you've done this 100 times already.
Yeah.
Let me see what happens if I just go,
Okay.
right? Or if he has a good play drive, and like we'll chase the ball and stuff, like I'll just have it in my pocket. I'll be in heel, I'll go break, and right after the break, I'll pop the ball out. Especially if the dog's very impulsive for it. So you create the break as, okay, I'm free.
Yeah.
Otherwise, as you go about just your usual day and like, the walks and the releases and stuff, he'll get it. It'll just take a longer time.
Yep.
Okay? Questions so far?
Nope.
All right, so let me just get this other one here. So this is Mason.
Hi, Mason. You are so
He-
cute.
It is a rescue dog.
She's so cute.
He's about 8 months now. His face makes him look a little bit older because he's got that white face.
Yeah. Some gray in it.
Yeah, so Mason here, he's just staying with us until they find him a home. But he's really good with socializing and stuff. He's a really good, how do you say, like his play style is really adaptive and all that stuff. But he's also a jerk. He research cards and everything like that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just test a few things.
Okay.
I'm going to have you go and put Pip in a quick heel. I'm going to have you just circle around and just like place yourself in the middle here.
All right, Pippen, heel.
Sweep this one. I'm just seeing like little fur balls. Okay, and then up, tap, yep, good. And I'm going to have you go and place yourself to Pip's right side, and I'm going to have you shorten your leash a wee bit more. There you go, cool. So this way, when you're holding the leash here, it's short, not tight, right? So I have an immediate contact. And what we're going to do is we're going to press boundaries to see where Pip's at behaviorally, but also we're going to just see where he's at in terms of comfort levels.
Okay.
So let's say it's your friends coming over, they're bringing their dog, he's never met him before. And you don't have the capacity. So typically what I do is I walk the dogs together. We go on a walk and I slowly close the gap so that Pip doesn't feel like he was forced to just interact with the dog right off the bat. So it allows him to coexist with the dog and do an activity. So for humans, to build a friendship or to build a relationship, we have tons of things that we can do. We can go hiking together, we can go to the movies, we can have dinner, we can go to the bar, go to a club, like all these things, right? For dogs, it's very minimal. They hunt, if they would hunt if they could. They rest, they travel, they play, pee poop, mate, and maybe a couple other things, right? It's very limited, the activities that they do or are capable of. So the ones that build or strengthen relationships are the, go ahead and get that. There you go. Is traveling, resting, and playing. Okay. Now, if there's no trust, most likely you're not going to see play. So then there's traveling and resting. So here, I like just going for the walk. And what I typically do is, if Pip's on your left, it would be like Pip, you, person, other dog. Right? So there's a big gap. Especially if it's like a really boisterous energy, right? So we'll walk. And as soon as like I see maybe this dog tones down, maybe it's been 10 minutes, I'll bring him to the right. So now it's Pip, you, dog, guest, right? And let's say he's like, okay, whatever. We go for keep walking for another 10 minutes. Then we switch roles, so it's dog, person, Pip, you. And then we bring in the dog at some point where it's person, dog, Pip, you, right? And as we're closing the gap, we're slowly looking for any tension from him, right? So it's like a puppy type, like all over that energy. You might see like when they get a little bit closer, he starts to become a little bit more like concerned, right? Or like looking around like, where's that dog? I just keep walking. And at some point, you desensitize him. He's like, okay, yeah, this dog's here, but whatever, we're just walking, right? And then after that, I would bring them into a neutral area. So like by you get lakefront, and then I would release them, and then we're just kind of meandering. And I'm getting them used to just having that energy around him, okay? And then from there, we start to press it more to where like I might bring the dog up to him to sniff his rear, things like that. And then we see how he responds. And even if it doesn't go well, I go, it's okay, go back for the walk, and then end it there, right? And I keep repeating this process, and eventually Pip goes, oh, like, I've seen you 10 times, right? And it's never been too much of a negative experience,
Yeah.
right? But the walking helps him kind of build a bond
Okay.
where he gets more comfortable with the dog, okay? Now, if we don't have the capacity to do that,
Yeah.
then I do this exercise.
Okay.
And this is where you're in the middle. We bring the visiting dog in, and I like to just walk around in the beginning to see how does this guy feel about this guy.
Yeah.
And as you can see here, like Mason's got like an ADD kind of personality right now, right?
That's exactly how Ivy is, who he has been, the black lab.
Sure.
She's
Okay.
like all over.
Yep.
Excited, happy, 24/7.
Right. So here, if I just brought Mason in without any kind of like, how do you say, familiarity,
Yeah.
more likely that he's going to want to become defensive.
Yes.
Okay. So what I like to do is you'll hold there, and I'll keep the visiting dog on the outside. Let's get this up here. There you go. And then like dogs that are more like.
If he's like watching you, is that okay?
That's okay.
Or should he be watching?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, because I'm looking at his body language,
Yeah.
and he's like relaxed, right?
Okay, good.
Especially when we reach like behind him, a lot of dogs will kind of look around because he's gonna be more
Yeah.
vulnerable. So as I'm walking around, I'll just slowly start to close the gap and come in a little bit closer here. And I'm just seeing if Pip gets uncomfortable in any way, right? And discomfort can be anything from staring to hackles. You
Yeah.
can see his hackles. His ears going up,
Yeah.
his tail going up. But typically, like for Pip, what I would expect to see if he ever got too uncomfortable is he'd probably stand up and want to keep an eye
Yeah.
on the dog, right?
Yeah.
So here he's maintaining the position. So the next thing I go is, okay, cool, you're fine with him on the outside. Let me now bring him on the inside. So now just closer. Okay? Good. And relax, good. Couple of side eyes. Good. This
You can
one.
tell my energy is like very high right now. I'm like,
So I'm gonna have you shorten just a wee bit more.
okay.
Okay, and what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna present Pip. Actually, no, before we go to that, we're gonna reverse. We're gonna switch rules.
Okay.
I'm gonna put Mason in the middle.
Okay.
You're gonna start with walking with Pip on the outside,
Okay.
and then you're gonna start walking with Pip on the inside. Okay.
So the bones up this way.
Yep. Good, go ahead and switch around, and then you bring one Pip on the inside here. Good. What we're gonna do here is go ahead and then bring Pip up to Mason real quick by the rear.
It's just like,
Yep, good job. Good. I'm going to try pulling a little bit towards this way. There we go. Good.
like that.
Going to pull a little bit more again.
Yeah, say hi. He's just like full on, like, I'm going to sit with my back.
Yeah, try spiraling him to his right. There we go. Right. So right there, if you read like his body language, right?
Yeah.
He gave a quick sniff,
Yeah.
and then everything was like, okay, whatever, like I'm
Yeah.
done, right? So this off the bat tells us he's not that interested, right?
Yeah.
Which is okay,
Okay.
right? So if Mason was a friend's dog, like a lot of people get discouraged, like, oh, the dog doesn't want to sniff. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's just day one,
Yeah.
you know? And then it's the Pip seeing the dog multiple times, going on walks and just doing things with the other dog
Yeah.
that may potentially create the friendship, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna reverse roles, okay?
Okay.
So you try bringing him up, everything was easy,
Yeah.
no problem. But now we're gonna see what happens when Mason goes to sniff.
Okay.
And hopefully Mason does what he always does, which is he likes to sniff a lot. So I'll be going and reposition down in the center. Yep, you're going to shorten your leash. Okay, so if Pip has a moment, I want you to just pull straight up, okay, up until the point where you may just pick up his front paws.
Okay.
So dogs direct their bites like this. Okay, so if you pick up the front paw, like if you were to try something, you just pick them up like this.
He can't do it.
No way to direct it. Worst he can do is this, right?
Yeah.
And then of course remote, and if you feel like, or once you feel him start to settle, you relax and settle with him, okay? So Pip's gonna come, I'm not Pip, Mason's gonna come. Good. Take a look at one and see Pip's. All right. Yeah, there's a bit of shaking here.
Yeah.
Right? So all that's normal.
Okay.
Okay, because if he's, he was a one way, right, where he was super social, was that correct?
Yeah.
And then he's like one day just.
Yeah, it was when we were watching someone's dog and the dog like lunged at me and then lunged at Pippen and then Pippen was like, I'm over this.
Sure.
I'm never gonna be friends with another dog again.
Sure. So now like it's been a bit,
Yeah.
right? That the shaking is just the stress and then the kind of nervousness coming out. It's normal to see.
Yeah.
He has to have an outlet for these emotions.
Yeah.
Right? So the way I start assessing where he's at in terms of comfort level with the dog is things that in the beginning made him stress. As you start to repeat them, you should start to see him become more indifferent each and every time.
Great.
Okay? So like right now, because he's in a sitting position, let's say you didn't have him sit and he was standing, and the dog approached, and when the dog approached, you saw Pip do this, that's an antisocial gesture. Okay? So it's like someone saying, hi, how are you? And you're not reciprocating, and not extending your hand out, right?
Yeah.
So if a dog's going to approach to sniff Pip, and Pip puts that butt down, he's going no. Okay?
Yeah, he does that a lot.
Yes, because it's funny because some dogs, they'll be like super like nosy, and then when it comes to them being sniffed, they're like, no, they'll just sit down, right?
Yeah.
So the way, like you saw me with Mason earlier, I'll typically just hold the dog like this. And I'm not forcing, like I'm not, just enough to keep him in place. In here, in case the dog tries something, I can easily redirect the head. So it allows them to keep, I would say, go through the sniffing process and just kind of learn like nothing negative is going to happen, right? I'm going to try that again. Bring him to his rear. Good. I saw his nose flicker a couple of times.
Yeah, I feel like I heard like underneath his like a grumble.
A little grumble?
Yeah. Like
okay, cool. So, it's okay. You're stressed.
So stressed.
Good thing he's only like
sweating.
18, maybe 15, 18 pounds.
Normally I just like stick my hand in there and I'll sweep him up the second he starts biting. But I've been told by like a lot of people not to do that because they're like, well, if the other dog attacks, then like your hand's in the middle and you're gonna be the one.
Yeah, and also you make more of a target.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if you pull him up and the dog goes after him,
he's gonna get me. Yeah,
correct.
that's what I've been told.
So, and there's like a right or wrong answer to that. So now you have a tool that allows you to correct Pip should he go into that state, right? Your first instinct should always just be straight up.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And straight up to the point where his paws are off the ground.
Great.
And remote. Okay?
Yeah.
If I don't get a response within that first 1 to 2 taps, I just turn it. I don't even care about looking at the number.
Yeah.
I just boom, boom, because he's not going to die. You can max it out, he's not going to die.
Yeah.
Right? He's not going to start bleeding and get punctures out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's just a contraction, right? So knowing that, I go, okay, cool. I can not worry about that and still address the issue.
Yeah.
Because if a dog's approaching and he were to freak out and you're trying to nuance your way there.
Yeah.
By the time the dog's gone, like you've lost the moment.
Yeah.
And what you're trying to do is get the correction in as the stimulus is happening.
Yeah.
So when Mason was sniffing him, had he had a moment and you had to correct him, I would simply hold, you would get him back under control, and we would continue.
Okay.
So he's going, oh, my typical response, 1, was corrected.
Yeah.
The correction didn't stop until I stopped. 2, nothing, everything else is still
Yeah.
going on. I'm still being sniffed.
Yeah.
Right? So he goes, okay, well then it's not effective anymore. Before, it was technically effective because you would scoop him up, right? Or remove him.
Yeah.
So in that situation, he's like, all right, well, I got what I wanted because I was able to get away from the situation.
Yeah.
Or like with the lab that you mentioned, taught a lesson.
Yeah.
So that kind of like empowers him, right?
Yeah.
So his ego gets inflated. And now that you're speaking his language and disciplining him with physical consequences, now he's got to think twice about things, right? And we've not done anything in relation to this.
Yeah.
So this is why I have my indirect and direct approach. Most of the time it's indirect. Let's see what happens when a dog gets a taste of their own medicine and gets disciplined.
Yeah.
And see what it changes, you know? And a lot of times it does change all this other stuff. In other cases, the dog will still have a moment. No big deal. Now we do the direct approach. Now we address the dog for the behavior itself, right? And so there's a couple of things that are in play here. One, you did correct him a couple times earlier where you remoted him, had him sit down, so there's already kind of in his head. We did the whole exercise thing and all that stuff, right? Because that's to help him become more social, or at least have a bigger social bubble, right? Otherwise, if it's someone on the street, I personally don't care. Okay? So, as I like to balance things between the dog and the owner, right? If I have a dog that I know can be social, but is antisocial when it comes to greeting dogs on the walk, I know that's perfectly fine, right? That I don't worry about putting the dog under that kind of stress because I just turn into the human. And well, how would you like if someone just forced you to like?
Say how you want.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, you know, you're not gonna like it because you don't want to do it, right? And I feel it's unfair, even though he's a dog. I was like, if he doesn't want to do it, I'm fine. Just don't be a jerk, right? Now with French dogs and things like that, I said that's absolutely realistic. That's perfectly fine. Okay. So, question so far with this? Nope. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna push it to the next level, and I'm gonna have you just kind of crouch down, and you're gonna pick up Pip's rear end here.
Okay.
And for him, if you want, it might be easier if you did an underhand like this to pop him up. There you go. Good. Good. And I'll pull away. Good. And you can go ahead and stand up. Very good. Right? You say lick his lips there. So he's stressed out about that moment. That's fine.
Okay.
So when you mentioned he grumbled earlier, I think I know when you were talking about. And I feel like it was when Mason started sniffing.
Closer to his,
Yes, right? So rear sniffing is the easiest. Okay? Because it's less confrontational. Sniffing around here makes sense to be more difficult that we would see or hear the grumble or lip curling around that area, which is why in the beginning I avoid face-to-face as much as possible. Okay? Because I'm anticipating if Mason comes here, back off, right? That's normal. He needs to have more comfort in order for him to get to that stage, right? So then in the beginning when doing this, I'm always avoiding any kind of face-to-face contact. If you have to remove Pip from a situation where they're coming to line up like that, you always want to turn to the side. Okay? When you go straight back, you create more of this.
That's like the lunge forward.
Exactly, right? And you create the let me at them response. When you turn sideways, you're redirecting. Less likely to see tension. Okay? As much as possible, and you did great. Relaxed. Right? So we took precautions, shortened our leash, but still kept it fairly slack. Because if you were like this, you may possibly create something. Okay, so that's always super important to remember. Okay? Questions so far? No?
So I should do this exercise with my friends.
Yeah, so like Like the black lab puppy. How old's that dog now?
She's probably like maybe like 12 weeks. Or
Oh, she's still a pup?
She a baby, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is recent, like right after I had that conversation with you, is when they had first met, and so then we like tried to do it again later, and then like after I signed up here, and he like full on lunge, and like got her. So we have not put them back in the room together since because I'm mortified. I don't know her exact age, but they got her in January.
Okay. All right.
She's 8 weeks.
So what I would do here is she your typical puppy energy, or is she?
Yeah. Oh, she walks on a leash and stuff, and she's a English lab, so when she's like done after 15 minutes of playing, she goes and sleeps for 2 hours. But it's like when you first see her, she's like all puppy.
Okay.
Where she's like jumping and she's making noises. He doesn't like when dogs bark at him. Even like our family friend's dog, he when he wants to play will bark, and Pippen doesn't like that, so like the dog won't bark at Pippen anymore because we bit him.
Sure.
But that was like a nip and done, and now Pippen like they just don't. They sit in a room together and Scout plays by himself.
Sure.
But
so, in his world, there is no courtesy.
Yeah.
Like if I'm at the store and I see a kid acting up, like I can't just spank the kid.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's not my place and all that stuff, right? In his world they do.
Okay.
Okay? And it's normal. He doesn't care if it's related to him or not. Dogs establish what they accept and don't accept, right? So if he's like, hey, you're in my house, or like just, hey, if you're in my presence, like you're not gonna do that. And there's people like that.
Yeah.
You know? Like where if something offends them or if something doesn't sit well with them, like they'll just like, no, that's inappropriate, or like, no, don't do that, I'm not comfortable with it, right? Like they just go like, if you're gonna be around me, this is my rules are, right? And our response is like, well, I will or won't, right? And then we either become friends or we don't, right? So it's the same thing for dogs. So for Pip, you know, when he's like, no, that puppy energy, no, not happening here, right? It's technically okay in his world. It's not okay in our world. Right? But the way I look at it is, if the puppy is coming into his territory, right? You do make the rules at the end of the day. So if it's kind of like, too bad, Pip, you got to deal with this, then yes, you could technically do that. Okay? The way I look at it is, and I'm actually more along the lines of Pip's thinking, where I'm like, puppies don't behave that way. Is there has to be, again, a balance. Right? So it's Pip, you don't correct the puppy, but the humans are in charge of addressing the puppy. Right? If we know Pip in the beginning is just not having it, you have to advocate for him. Okay? So a lot of people, when they get dogs, it's the kind of my dog is protect me kind of mentality thing. And it's actually vice versa, unless the dog's trained, like that's their role, right? So he has no understanding of our world. You know, he doesn't understand that laws protect us and things like that. He's just like, you know, it's me and my mom, and, you know, it's kill or be killed out there in the animal world, this and that. So for him, he's just like, I'm going to take care of it before something happens to us. So he's just being kind of proactive in that sense. But we want to teach him that that's not his role, that's actually your role, right? So if Pip is doing a good job, like right now he did really well. He gave a little grumble, which was understandable when it was happening in that zone, totally expected, right? But then it would be like unfair that he's behaving this way and the dog's really pushing his boundaries and not expect him to say like, I've had enough, if you're not going to do anything about it, I will. Does that make sense?
And it's when it happened, it wasn't that the dog was in his face. The dog, we were sitting on the couch, and that's normally I'm like, okay, Pippen, the couch is Pippin's, and then the puppy has to stay on the floor. And it's the dog was like playing on the floor, and it was like Pippin's like up high enough, and the dog was like near him, and he jumped down and like bit.
So he was possessing the couch.
He was like. like the dog got a little bit too close to the couch and like was playing with some toys. Not even this dog at this point was like, I don't really want to be friends with Pippen.
Sure.
Just like, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And so.
Or if like I've also where I've gone down to pet her and to be like, good girl, and he starts growling.
Sure.
Like, I can't, like if I were to like pet the dog right now, I think he'd start growling. Like,
sure.
He wouldn't like it.
Okay. So right there, going back to the bed thing, or not the bed, the couch thing.
Yeah.
You want to learn where's his threshold,
Yeah.
and it may be different depending on the situation, right? Because they're like, think of the couch as an extension of Pippen.
Yeah.
Right? And like, let's say his distance is 1 to 2 feet of him, then the distance would be 1 to 2 feet of the couch.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because we're very logical, we can rationalize things, whereas for him, he's just like,
Yeah.
very cut and dry. Yeah, like this is it, right?
Yeah.
So with the puppy, I think that would be a good place to start. Okay? I would not worry about puppy in the home. I would just be like, hey, can we go for a walk, right?
Yeah.
And maybe in the beginning of the walk, Pip's on the left, and they have the puppy on the right. So it's Pip, you, person, puppy.
Yeah.
And maybe in the beginning he's growling.
Yeah.
Right? Because maybe previous experience with that bite, and he's like, haha, like I got away with it. And just the puppy's energy, right?
Yeah.
And they would want to keep the leash shorter. They can let their puppy be a puppy. They just don't want the puppy coming over and going into his space, right? Let's say he starts off growling in the beginning. As you walk longer, eventually he just lets it go.
Yeah.
And that's the first step to coexistence with that kind of energy. Okay? And then it's like, let's say that happens for 15 minutes and he's quiet. I go, cool, let's bring that energy a little bit closer.
Yeah.
And maybe the growling starts up again because you've closed the gap.
Yeah.
We just keep walking, right? And then I might just stop there and we part ways and we go home.
Okay.
So for him, he's just like, oh, okay, like I was with that puppy, but it never got too close. And eventually, like I got used to the energy.
Yeah.
So then the next time, maybe he gets over the puppy's energy faster.
Okay.
It's that exposure.
Yeah.
And then once we get to the, okay, let's close the gap a bit more, then it's like we may have to correct some things, even though we've created comfort, but it should be much easier. Okay?
Yeah.
But I think the puppy would be a good start. And actually it works vice versa, because since he put a correction on the puppy, now there's like, trust has to be rebuilt, right?
Yeah.
And it's teaching the puppy, like, you can be next to Pippen and he won't like.
He's not gonna bite you.
Exactly,
Yeah.
okay?
We're supposed to go hiking with them on Saturday, or on Sunday. It's supposed to be like 60.
Perfect.
So we could do it then.
And when you do the exercise, you want to make sure you do use your heel command.
Yes.
This isn't a leisurely walk.
No.
Because he's more focused on this, and it's allowing him to accept what's going on here and have a reference point. Should he start growling, you can remote him for that, right? And you're like, don't worry about the growling, like, the puppy's not going anywhere, we're going, okay?
Yeah.
And that'll help with that.
Perfect.
I'm trying to think here, there was something else I was gonna say. If you feel it's going really well, you can push it to the next, like the sniffing part, okay? Especially if it's at the end of the hike, because they've burnt up energy, they spent enough time kind of just walking with each other. But if it's towards the end and he's still grumbling here and there, I wouldn't do it. Okay? So you have to kind of feel it out. If it's like, hey, like Pip's doing pretty good, and you keep pressing it, and you're like, he's doing really well, then I go, excellent, just keep pushing. And if it does, let's say it goes well until that point, it's okay. You correct them, push it a little more, and then remove them, and then you're good. Okay?
Great.
Typically, when something goes south, we want to remove. And the last thing he remembers is, I did this, I got separated from the puppy, that works for me, right? As opposed to, doesn't matter what I do, like it's not going to go anywhere. Okay? Questions about this?
No.
Cool. So let's go ahead and I'm going to have you bring Pip over here again. Yeah. See how he's licking his lips? So the licking of the lips is okay. But this is telling us that Pip is stressing out a bit about this interaction, right? And you saw that little side. Yeah, right? So all this is normal.
His back legs are shaking.
Yeah, because he's like, no, right? And of course Mason's being a weirdo. But that's okay, right? So lip licking is not negative, okay? It's just telling you that whatever's happening in that moment is stressing Pip out. As he gets more comfortable, you might see more inclination on his part to want to sniff and get to know the dog. If that happens and the dog turns around, like you want to prevent that because it's face to face.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Let me take a little bit of time. Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna put this guy away,
Okay.
and I'll give you a new thing to work on for the week.
Oh, perfect.
All right, so, the basic commands are heel, come, stay, sit, down,
Okay.
place, right? It's like the 6
Yeah.
basic commands. When you say heel and you're walking, and Pip, when you come to a stop and Pip puts his foot down, it's
Yep.
not a sit, right? It's an auto sit.
Okay.
It's built into the heel command.
Yes.
So if you start walking again, his inclination should be to follow you, right? So the only time I say the word stay is when the dog's already in position,
Okay.
okay? So if I'm walking with Pip, I come to a stop and he sits, and I don't want him to move.
Yeah.
Human logic says I can't say sit because he's already doing it. I could say down, but he's not learned down through remote yet.
Yeah.
So here what I would do is I would use the word stay.
Okay.
So stay means stay in the position you're in now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move, you're not gonna move, okay? So like let's say Pip was on his dog bed.
Yeah.
And he chose to go there. And you decided like, I need you to not move. You can't say place because he's already
there.
doing it, right? Stay.
Okay.
Now it becomes that command.
Yeah.
Or if you're to be laying down, once we've taught the down command, stay, it becomes that command.
Yeah.
Okay? So I don't say sit stay, place stay, or down stay. I only say when the dog's already in position and I need them not to move. Okay? So I'm gonna take Pip here. We're at 17. And I'm gonna just get him to heel with me real quick. Heel, hip, 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 hip. There we go. 22. Hip. Good. Right? So what I'm gonna do here, with Pip on my left side.
Yeah.
Pip on my left side. I like to use the hand closest to the dog.
Okay.
I'm gonna just go like this and I say stay. And I'm gonna pivot out with my right leg, like this, so I'm facing Pip.
Okay.
The reason for this is, if I move forward like this, it still looks very similar to heel.
Yes.
Right? Because heel would be
It's
this. Right?
Yeah.
So in the beginning, when I pivot out like this, it makes it harder for the dog to move with me.
Yeah.
Because they can't really do that turn unless they've developed that skill.
Yeah.
So here, this helps him keep his position, but then also the face-to-face positioning
Yeah.
keeps him more back.
Okay.
So this is confrontational body language, okay? So this naturally just keeps the dog suppressed. This is why sometimes you might see someone tell their dog to sit, and as they're walking closer to the dog will finally sit.
Yeah.
Because they're putting confrontational pressure on the dog, and eventually the dog gets into
Yeah.
it, okay? So once I've given the cue, I want to shorten my leash here, and I'm going to move around Pip. So the reason why I have it shorter is in case he gets up, I can immediately pull up, start remoting till he puts his butt down, and I relax again.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to prevent Pip from coming back to you.
Yeah.
So if you have it here, you essentially keep him in the spot that he's in. Okay, if he gets up, I would stop moving because for the past couple of weeks, this is meant
Yeah.
heel. So if I try to keep moving as I do the stay and you're remoting,
Yeah.
he's going to keep trying to come back to your left
Okay.
leg. Okay, so to help him differentiate, I stop moving, I correct him, he puts his butt down. As soon as that butt is down, I can start moving again. Okay, I come back, he's doing good. Yep. If he does get up, I like to complete tap. There we go. Another circle. So it's very clear. Good. Then come in and boy. And if I step out again, he shouldn't move because it's still in effect. Good. Yep. Yep. And what you might see is a delay now.
Yeah. Okay.
Because now we're doing conflicting commands.
Yeah.
One is move with me, one is I move, you don't move. So in the beginning, you might see that delay stay, because he's trying to differentiate between the two words.
Okay.
So as we teach more commands with e-collar, we create more problems.
Okay. Can this stay also be for like stay and you walk away?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Because Because he does actually, he will not do that with me at all.
Where are you having him stay? Like, what's the context?
Where we were trying to, well, I wanted him to be a therapy dog, and like for the exam, you have to like have him stay, and then you walk away. I'd walk away, and he like within 2 seconds would be like, just wait, I'm coming.
Yep. So, did he ever pass?
No.
Okay. So
he passed his like good canine and all that, but not, we like, the, whatever Petco's like puppy classes were, and he stayed for that, and then after like a few months later I tried to like do the therapy dog, and he like wouldn't stay.
if you send me the link, whatever,
Yeah.
I can read over the test.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's a therapy dog. I had a couple of clients who kept failing the test because they did positive only.
Yeah.
They did training with me, and then what they did was, right before they test, they would go down and drill some things.
Yeah.
And then go in, they passed it, they got
Yeah.
their certificate, that's it.
That's what I would like him to be a therapy dog.
Sure.
I just can't get the stay.
The only thing is you can't tell them you've used aversives,
Okay.
okay, because it immediately disqualifies you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they only accept positive only, which the test is stupid simple.
That's, yeah.
But the methods that they only allow
Yeah.
can't even, it's a very small percentage of dogs can do it. But once you've gotten it, it's like you have it.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but just a heads up.
Yeah.
But
That's good to know. I know his like all the puppy classes was like positive only.
Yeah. No, that was a new thing they introduced like a few years ago.
Yeah.
So now whenever any clients ask about the CGC and stuff, I'll tell them like, it's stupid simple, you'll pass it.
Yeah.
But don't tell them you've used this tool. And
Yeah.
just right before, go down a couple blocks, practice for 10-15 minutes, so the dog's like,
Yeah.
kind of
Honed
warmed
in.
up, yep, and then you go in, you pass it,
Yeah.
get your paper and go. Yep. Yep. Yeah, he's doing a lot better with this haircut now. Good boy, stay. And so like let's say like right here, what some dogs do in the beginning is they'll swivel.
Okay.
So he'll keep the position, but they'll do this.
Yeah.
Okay? If that happens, I don't correct it.
Okay.
It's typically them just trying to keep their focus.
Yeah.
And when you correct him standing up or laying down back into this position,
Yeah.
that tends to go away.
Okay.
Okay, so I always just ignore it because technically they're not they're not getting up, right? Because sit just means keep your butt on the ground.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, a little
It's on the
loophole.
ground.
Yes.
Yeah. We're like, I'm not touching you. That.
Yes. But once he understands the concept of like, I just like don't move,
Yeah.
he goes away.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
So it's all good. And when I move around, like I don't keep repeating the word stay. I don't do the hand motion. It's just stay. I walk away. And I like to move at a normal pace.
Yeah.
So realistically speaking, in terms of application, I feel like this is the most useless command.
Yeah.
But it's good just for practicing purposes. The way I like to apply it is like, let's say you take the pup for a walk, he goes poop, I'll tap him into the sitting position, tell him stay while I'm picking up the poop and stuff, right? And then I'll come back to the side, heel. Let's say you're gonna throw away the poop to a trash can, he's here and heel, tell him to stay, you'll walk away, throw away the poop bag, come back. If you're walking with him and you hit a red light, stay at the intersection, walking around, so you're practicing as you go on, just throughout your day.
Great.
If you find there is application for it, I had one client, I forgot what they had their dog do something, and I was like, oh yeah, sure, like you can use it there. I think he used to make his dog always stay at the beginning of the hallway, because they had like an apartment complex, and then you'd walk and like do a couple of things, and then you go and then go to his door, and then you call his dog. I'm like, yeah, sure, you could do that. So you can find, if there's things where you have application for it, by all means go ahead and use it. But those are the most common ones that I have people do. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pick over to you. We're at 22 now. Now he's in a stay position. So like if I hand him to you and here to get up, you would of course you would reinforce the sitting position, and then you would keep going. What I'm having you do here is go ahead and pet Pip. Good boy. Up tap. Tip. Good. Pet him again. And you can put some energy in your butt. Good. I'm going to step away and move around. So that stay is still in effect.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Great.
So even though I gave the cue, like he's still under my command.
Yeah.
And like you coming, like you see, like he tried to scoot over and all that
Yeah.
stuff, right? I use that stuff to my advantage. So you don't have to necessarily say the word.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay? So with commands, the command stays in effect until he's released with the break,
Okay.
or he's given a new cue, right?
Yeah.
So you would either say break, heel, or whatever command he knows. I'm gonna have you go to position yourself and go to the heel. You'll just do a quick little circle around, come to a stop.
Okay, heel.
Good. Stay.
And it's this, stay?
Yeah, stay, yep. And people ask, like, what if the dog's not looking? That time you're
Yeah.
fine. Just, you gave the cue.
Yeah.
If the dog does make a mistake, I correct them.
Yeah.
And dogs are very capable of, like, not looking at you
Mm-hmm.
and still
Still
like
knowing
hearing
what's
what you
happening.
said, yeah. Good. He looks so awkward.
He's so, when he's like doing things, he just looks very derpy and you're like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's the drama. He has a lot of drama in him.
Good. Go ahead and come in and pet him. Give him a lot of love.
Just play.
Good. And then you walk away. Perfect. Back to the side. Heel.
Yep.
Tip. Tip. There he goes. Good boy. Tip. Yep. Tip. 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 Good. And relax your left arm. Tip. Tip. Yep. There he goes. Good. There he is. Good. And slow. Yep, that's okay for now. Give it a stay.
Stay. Is it fine that his paw is up?
Yeah, the reason why his paw was up, he was unsure.
Oh,
Because
okay.
of all the taps that happened right there.
Yeah.
He was just a bit like unsure, kind of like,
I
maybe
don't
you
know
tapped
what to
in.
do.
Yeah,
Okay.
good. Excellent. Very good. And go ahead. What I'm gonna have you do is you're gonna keep the leash in your hand. I'm gonna have you step away from him and keep him in that position like that. That's good. So, for like the therapy dog test, I feel like there's one where like the dog's sitting and they come like their pet by
Yeah.
someone or whatever. So you can't jump or anything like that.
Yeah.
So this is something that you can do with your guests, your friends,
Okay.
right? Is you put them in a sitting position. In the beginning, you would want to start with him next to you
Yeah.
because it's easier for you to correct them.
Okay.
And let the person be themselves.
Yeah.
So if they come in with a lot of energy, let it happen, right?
Okay.
Him, hey, right?
Mhm.
He tried to
Yeah.
jump up, you would tap, correct him.
Yep.
Ideally, the person would freeze,
Yeah.
you would correct, and then they would continue again.
Yep.
Because if they come in and they're petting him, and he's jumping, and you're trying to correct him for the positioning,
Mhm.
the fact that he's getting what he's wanting
Yeah.
will override the correction.
Okay.
So you want to separate them where if the person comes in like, hey buddy, la, 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 la," and then when he breaks, they freeze, you correct, and then they continue in.
Okay.
He breaks, they freeze, you correct, and then finally it's like, oh hey. So he goes, oh, when they come in,
Mhm.
if they give this kind of energy, if I get up, this
Yeah.
happens,
Yeah.
but also they stop,
Okay.
right? And then we kind of inch it closer until eventually he's like, oh, okay, if I just keep my butt here, I get
Yeah.
the affection and we're good, right?
Yeah.
Until eventually,
So I should put him in stay and then let people come in so he doesn't jump on them?
yes and no,
Okay.
right? So like, let's say they're coming into your home.
Mhm.
You put them just up tap for the sitting position and then stay.
Yep.
If you're outside on the walk and he's in a heel and
Yeah.
you stop and he auto sits and someone says, oh, can I pet your dog? And you say yes, you technically don't have to say stay
Okay.
because he's still locked in the heel sit,
Yeah.
right? So then here, I just shortened my leash kind of like we did with Mason
Yeah.
because you're anticipating he's going to make a mistake and you want to have that immediate contact.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're going to be up here, right?
Yeah.
So then you correct them and you let them be themselves,
Mhm.
okay? In the home, you have to put him in the position first because he wouldn't be in the heel.
Yeah.
You know, you want to have your leash on because that gives you a bit more leverage in the beginning. and then let your guests come in and like do their thing and you correct, right?
Yeah.
And you keep repeating that. So eventually, your guest comes in, he's in that position, and I don't care if he's excited.
Yeah.
He just can't pick that butt up. Exactly, right?
Right.
So when the person comes in, they're petting him and stuff, they walk away, he's still in that position, like,
Can I please go say hi?
right?
Yeah.
And then he's free, right? And you
Okay.
might see all that energy come out, that's normal.
Okay.
Now, once you've got it here, and you feel like you've mastered it, he's
Yeah.
mastered it, then you would just make it a little bit more difficult by separating yourself.
Yeah.
So eventually, like, you're this far apart, and the person goes, oh, hey, hi, bud, and they're like petting him. And then they walk away, you know? So in the beginning, you're closer to give you more leverage.
Yeah.
And as he progresses and gets better, you just slowly start making it
Okay.
easier, more difficult, and it's just creating more distance.
Yeah.
Okay?
Great.
Questions?
No, that's great.
All right.
My grandma comes over and she's afraid when he jumps on her because she's so little.
Mm.
So it would be nice to like put him into stay and be like, no, because she won't always pet him because she's like afraid of dogs. She got attacked by a dog.
Mm.
But when he jumps on her, she does get a little freaked out.
Sure. So there's a couple approaches here.
Okay.
We have preventative and interventive.
Okay.
Prevention, intervention, right? Prevention is like put your butt down and don't move.
Yeah.
Right? So he doesn't have the capacity to even jump on the first place.
Yeah.
But something that, so let's say you do that, guest comes in, he holds, and you tell him break. If he's super excited, guess what's going to happen?
He's gonna run up to her.
Yeah,
Anyways.
jump, right? So, because it's the thought's still in the brain.
Yeah.
So the next thing is intervention or intervening, right? So like let's say he holds a sit, she pets him, she walks away, and when you release him, because somebody you have to let him go, he's like, ah,
Yeah.
right? So he's going. You would want a remote there,
Okay.
right? The moment you see him going, hey,
Yeah.
boom, right? And you're saying not that much energy.
Yeah.
Because
Too scary.
the problem isn't the jumping, the problem is the excitement.
Yeah.
Because that's what leads to the jumping, it's what fuels it,
Yeah.
right? So whenever I look at behavior, people tend to like, my dog barks a lot. I'm like, but why? You know, like, what's behind it
Yeah.
is what's fueling it, right?
Okay.
So the moment you release him, I would just anticipate you're probably going to charge,
Yeah.
right? And the moment you see that, I start remoting, I dial it up, you might get a yip,
Yeah.
and then he goes, okay, and he just leaves grandma alone,
Yeah.
right? So there's that. Or maybe you approach his grandma, and he starts or thinks about jumping, you remote there as well,
Yeah.
okay? So every dog is different. For some dogs, you technically have to allow them to perform the behavior as the correction is happening.
Yeah.
So like, if I walk in and the dog just jump on me,
Yeah.
I will correct them as they're jumping, and I don't say anything to teach them, you don't jump on me when I enter.
Yeah.
In other cases, you can ideally want to prevent it beforehand. So like
Yeah.
if I'm dealing with dog reactivity, and I know every time the dog looks, they'll end up blowing up.
Yeah.
Sometimes correcting the blow up doesn't work, that you have to correct
that turn.
the look,
Yeah.
exactly,
Okay.
for the first moment. So the dog goes, I can't even think about being reactive,
Yeah.
and then a correction comes in, right?
Yes.
Every dog's different.
Okay.
So
Great.
think of it, and it all depends on the context. You know, like you might have someone come in, they're like, oh, I'm fine with, you know, Pippen jumping
Yeah.
when you correct them and stuff. You could do that approach. And then for your grandma, because you know she's scared of
Yeah.
dogs, you can do the more preventative approach, right? So he learns that jumping gets
Yeah.
a default correction. The other thing is you can also teach Pip to give your grandma space,
Okay.
right? So like let's say everybody else that comes in, like if you didn't care, you just let them be Pip.
Yeah.
But then for this one particular person, you're like, no, because they're afraid of dogs.
Yeah.
I don't want them to freak out. Anytime he shows interest in her,
Yeah.
you would simply remote.
Okay.
Okay, this doesn't create any negative.
Yeah.
He just thinks like, I have to give you space, right? And if she enters his space, you might see in the beginning, he does get a little like, uh-oh,
Yeah.
but nothing's happening. And he goes, oh, okay, it's not when you come to me, it's when I come to you
Yeah.
that this happens. So I'm gonna give you space, and if you wanna say
Okay.
hi, I'll leave it alone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Great.
Other questions?
No, I think that'll
It is
work.
space.
Yeah. Yeah. We spend a lot of time with my grandparents live like right down the street from me.
Gotcha.
So I she has
Mm.
Alzheimer's, and so my grandpa, when he like goes grocery shopping, I like sit with her so she doesn't wander.
Sure.
But she forgets that she's met Pip, and so then she like gets scared around him, and like she's fine if she's sitting down and he like comes to her, but he like gets so freaking excited.
Sure.
Yes, someone's here, and he's like,
Yeah.
he knows that he's met her, but she doesn't sometimes she forgets that she met him.
Yeah. I see that.
Too excited. Just freaking her out. Bye, Pip.
So threatening, Pip.
Yeah, he's scared. He's a scary boy.
Very good. So you have your homework for the week.
Perfect.
If anything pops up, like always, feel free to reach out. Let me know. Otherwise.